Hey everybody, it's Jono from Veracity with another video in my video series. This one on analyzing data, really an overview of it. Even though we've done a little bit of analyzing before, this one is going to be an overview, and in future videos we will go in and dig down into some of the different components. I'll link to a lot of different stuff in this video that is covered in previous videos that relate in one way or another. Important basics. I will note that Rob from Veracity has a great YouTube video that talks about this in some more detail. I'll put the link in the description, but I'm just going to cover it at a very high level. So let's imagine you have some data, and each one of these little dots is a data point, and we may want to filter that data. So you'll notice that on the left-hand side we have all the grayish looking ones. I can kind of point that out over here. All of these are filtered out of the other colors that are on the right hand side. So the way we do this is we say, for example, give me all the data points where the learner is Jane Doe. And what this looks like in the xAPI world is where the actor is and then some object. So we have our Jane Doe and a particular ID. In this case, it's an account. xAPI actors can look a little bit different, but that's real important because when you are analyzing or you are reporting on data, you often want to look at just one person's data, or just the data associated with one course, or just the data that have scores over 80% or less than 70%. So filtering and thinking about when you structure your data, having the data as part of your data point that allows you to filter is really important. Next, grouping. So if we take the data that we filtered the last time around, and now we're looking at it and we zoom in a little bit, let's say that we notice there's some different characteristics. They're not all just little dots. You see some are squares, some are triangles. They were all that grayish color, but they have a different data element that allows us to group them together. So we may do something that looks like this and pull apart all of the triangles, all the squares, and all of they look like ovals actually, into different groups. So now we're grouping by a different characteristic in the data. So now we've already grabbed Jane Doe's data, and now that we have Jane Doe's data, we want to group by, let's say, all the data points with a particular course. So although this is all Jane Doe's data, this triangle is the data associated with course 1. The squares or rectangles here are course 2, and so on. What this looks like is group by object ID. So first we filtered by a person, and now we're grouping the remaining data by the object ID. In this case, we're saying it's a course, but the object ID. Now, what do you do with that? Once you've grouped those things together, this is when we get into some metrics that we can show in our reports or analytics. So we take each one of these things, and let's say the triangles are all data points with the Science 101 course. Mathematics 101 is the rectangles, and History 101 are the ovals from Jane Doe. And we can count them. Maybe there's additional data. Maybe these each have a score and you could average them or do a standard deviation. But in this case, let's just say we counted them. So Science 101 has 5 data points. Mathematics has 8. And we could take this and turn it into a graph that says this is Jane Doe's overall course activity, 5 science, and so on. So you can see how thinking about data, ensuring that the data elements are in your data points to allow you to filter and then allow you to group so that you can perform certain metrics on that data. Let's go into just a really quick demonstration of in the LRS where we're going to use this stuff. I'm not going to go into any details really until some of the future videos because I don't want this to get too long. But we've got 2 main components where you're going to visualize and use data and these concepts that we just talked about. One is on the left menu under xAPI data statements. And this is kind of our report. And by default, it just comes up and we've got some people. And, in this case, eventually it'll be more than just one person and we've got multiple pages. But just like we did, we can kind of filter based on, a person or filter based on that person and a particular learning object, and now this is just the filter of what this person did on the R programming course. So pretty powerful, just scratching the surface, a lot that you can do with this statement viewer, but you'll use those concepts we just talked about in the statement viewer. The second place is in the analytics platform on the left-hand side. By default, this opens to the default dashboards. And you can actually drill down in, you can look at this data for trends and then say, I'm interested in this statistical inference. I want to drill down in and see more information about that. So this is exploratory. Nice to understand, again, how your data is structured from that earlier in the presentation. But where this really comes into play is under custom dashboards. I can create a custom dashboard, and it'll bring up a little authoring widget where I can build a chart. And in this chart editor, there's a lot of ways to use it, and we'll do that in a future video, but kind of understanding those concepts of filtering, grouping, and then metrics on the data is really important to be able to use these tools. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and call it for today. Thanks everybody for watching. If you like this video, click the like button and subscribe, and have a good one.